What's up, y'all? First of all, we want to thank you all for joining us for this panel tonight. Yes. We appreciate each and every one of you for coming out, and being that this is the Lipstick Den's very first official event, this does mean a lot to us. Yes. First and foremost, I do want to acknowledge that per history books, today is Juneteenth, the day that our people became free-ish. Mm-hmm. The reason I say free-ish is because if we were all the way free, we wouldn't be here having this conversation today. Yes. Amen. So a lot of us, including myself, only know most of our history as far as it dates back to our westernized textbooks. And by starting there, going all the way up to today, it may seem like we've progressed. But if only we knew where we come from, the kings and queens that we used to be, we would then realize that we have a ways to go. Pretty much. So tonight is all about being heard from our people. And for the ones tuning in, I do want to let you know that there is no censor. As far as this conversation goes, it's going to be very raw. And the purpose of tonight is to come together and discuss the recent events that we've currently been going through, as well as some of our history, in hopes that we can maybe realize some things that we didn't realize before and figure out how we can overcome this wedge as a whole. Yes, absolutely. So for starters, we do have a special guest. They're all special guests, but we have a special one. Not that y'all will see why we say special. You'll know. But we do have Miss Lamantria Edwards. She's the president and founder of Lamantria Edwards Foundation. Yes. And she will be leading us with a 2 to 3 minute prayer. So we're going to allow her to come up and bless us tonight. Yes.
I got you. I like to hold hands when I pray. Somebody want to send me
I'm going to hold your hand, baby. I'm going to hold your hand.
Look, I'm like, I like somebody to be good. Hold up. It's mine. It's good. Thank you. All right, let's close our eyes and bow our heads. Let me know when y'all ready. Heavenly Father, we just want to come to you right now, not asking you for anything, but thanking you for all things. We give our hearts to you, Father God. We give our minds to you. We give our spirits to you. We give this night to you, Father God, for you know the intentions of all things that you've already created. We thank you so much for allowing these beautiful queens to come together and know that with their strength that they can change the world, Father God. Thank you so much for allowing them to know that they are world changers and that anything that you have in this room, Father God, is completely up to you. We pray that whatever conversations are going, that everyone is respectful of one another's opinion, and that we will leave out of this kingdom with the hearts of peace, Father God. Yes. We're thanking you so much for the unity, Father God. We're thanking you so much for the freedom that you set for us on this day, Father God. For we know that we've been mentally free, Father God, but through to all that is going on, Father God, we have been chained up by, not by choice, Father God, but by the things that you have. We give our hearts to you again, Father God, and we plant our feet in your soul, Father God, for you to clean our souls and our seeds so that we can grow and nurture all things through you. We give our praise to you. We give our souls to you. And we pray over those who were not able to make it but would love to attend. We pray for our live viewers. We pray for our in-house viewers. And we know that tonight will be exactly what you're asking it to be. In Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Woo, that was good. A whole other place. Drop the mic on that one.
So Lamantria, we appreciate you.
Yes,
thank you for setting the tone for our atmosphere tonight. We definitely needed that. So if y'all are ready, I'm ready. Sit down. We're gonna go ahead and introduce our panelists.
Okay.
First, we have Miss Bridget Castle, who is an entrepreneur and loan officer. Secondly, we have Miss Shireen Watson. She is a licensed realtor and tax consultant.
Okay. We have Mr. Earl Thomas sitting right here. He's a fitness entrepreneur, and we have Lamantria, who just gave us that awesome prayer.
Yes.
We have Tatiana. True FX? No? Tatiana? Oh, okay.
It's an audience.
That's it. Here.
Then we have Jerry Russell, our photographer, an informational and technology consultant, Miss Angela Kendrick, and we have Miss Keisha Gordon, an entrepreneur and marketing professional.
All right, then we have Miranda. She's a social media influencer. We also have DQ Hampton right here. And he's a national award-winning artist and songwriter, you guys. And last but not least, the owner of this shop that we're at, Jeff Davis, right here. He's the owner of the Astute Gentleman Cigar and Barber Lounge, you guys. So welcome and thank you again, panelists, for being here.
Let's get ready. So, our first question is for Mr. Earl and Miranda. So, to be aware is to understand that white supremacy has led to a deeply ingrained systemic racial issue. How do you think racism manifests in society?
Racism manifests, is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure y'all get it. Okay. Racism manifests from actually media, the power of media. Even Ben Franklin knew from the very beginning that you control, from the fathers of our country, they knew that you can control the masses by media. That's why TV, radio, everything that you see is portrayed through media. And how everyone is seen is through that. So you're getting to a point where it's created through the subconscious. That's where everything starts with the thought. From the thought, that leads to action, right? So you got so many people, and Russ was talking about this before. Russell, I don't want to call him Russ.
You good.
Russell was talking about the channels from the antenna, way from back in them days. You have to remember, I'm gonna just go back to the civil rights, not even as far back as slavery. From civil rights, you only had maybe 2 or 3 channels. That was it. They had pure control over everything that America's seen. Now, so all you see is white people having power. All you see is a black person seen a certain way with lack of power. Now, let's go forward to another generation, right? Where now there's more stations. Then we go from more stations to now that we have power with what we put out there. Now we have control over that. All that stemming from these generations to all this portrayal. So when we saw what ignited this meeting today, was a man, a white man, with his knee on the neck of a black man. And the reason, unfortunately, that we have to discuss this issue, because if that knee was on a dog, because I saw what happened when Mike Vick went to jail. I saw the reaction to that. There were more people fighting for that than they were fighting for this. So that goes to show you the subconscious mindset of America and how we're portrayed. So this knee is on this man, and some people head turned about it. Other people outraged about it because I see me. I see my son. I see my grandfather. I see my uncle. Other people like, oh my God, I see that poor person. Then you got others who just don't care. Because from these generations, I'm not even going as far as slavery, I'm just going from the 60s, where media is showing white men in power, and this is okay to treat black people like that, right? And then there's people who are okay with it being wrong. It's because that's how they've always seen America. And the worst thing about it is, there are so many black people who are okay with it too. Because we've been taught that, okay, it's okay for the police to treat us in that way. And there's nothing we can do about it. Because we've never seen it change. And it hurts. But now it's getting to the point where it took 8 minutes and 46 seconds for me to get calls from white people. All right, I work as a fitness entrepreneur, so the reason why I do what I do is because I'm in an opportunity where I can work from so many different cultures where we all unify on one thing, just to get healthy and have fun. So now I have a platform I can talk to them, and they're like, oh my God, Earl, I see you as this great guy. You try to get me in shape in person, but I never realized that you guys have been going through this for so long. And they're finally starting to get an inkling of a light. You know, they're just barely starting to get it. So the racism, they had it. I'm just saying, these are from great people. They had it, but they didn't even know they had it. All right, and so that's where strong part of it comes from. So I don't want to take too much time. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, I definitely agree. And just to piggyback off of his statement, I mean, racism is taught. Let's be real. I mean, we're not born racist. It's taught from an early age. So when you have, generations before us that continue to teach the same mindset, it kind of gets ingrained automatically into our next generation. So it's kind of something that's hard to beat when we have people that are going to continue to teach that way.
That's true.
Yeah, make sure you talk to Mike.
So with that, how do you guys think, if possible, we would be able to unnormalize racism from continuing to be manifested into society?
All right, so I've been praying about that heavily because I didn't want to go, and I applauded DQ Hampton for being out there on the front lines. He just mentioned that he was out there. I didn't want to just go out there in vain when all this happened. I didn't want to react. There's a difference between reaction and responding, right? When you react, all right, so if a doctor tells you, okay, hey, I'm going to give you this medication may give you a reaction. That's not what the medication is designed to do. It may cause you to itch or scratch, but it's really to help you with your heart. Then you come back and you say, okay, yeah, my heart's pumping better. Oh, the medication is responding. So that's the difference between reaction and response. So I wanted to make sure I respond. And so when I prayed about it, I wasn't led to protest. I felt bad about it. But then after that, I started getting the phone calls from white people. And then the phone calls, and I started to hear what they were saying, listening to how they feel, being empathetic, because in order for us to create what you said, to unravel or remove the racism, we must communicate. And the difference between what Martin Luther King did, and I tell her, I saw a lot of white people posting, oh my God, you guys should protest like Martin Luther King did. Martin Luther King was a savage. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, they don't know.
They don't understand. Martin Luther King knew how to portray and show what was going on in the community. This is what they're doing to us, and I'm going to put you on blast. That's what he was doing. But also, he knew that would be the only way he would get white people to see what was going on, in the world to see what was going on. And so that started creating dialogue. That started getting him into the White House where he could have the communication with people with the power. And when that started to happen, that trickled down to other white people saying, man, that's just messed up, as opposed to, that's messed up what happened to y'all. It changed it to, this is what's happening, and that's messed up to our country. But we got everybody participating to what's going on in our country. Now we can march, now we can move forward, now we can push legislation. Because we must have a conversation, and that we must be open and hear what they're saying, and not just snap, oh, you white, and you don't know what you're talking about, what it's like to be black. Some people are really trying to help, and we must listen to them, and listen to those, and not just block people on Facebook if they say all lives matter. You must watch them and listen to them, and give them time. That's it. Thank you.
Well, can you repeat the question again?
So the question is, how do you think that we can help unnormalize racism from continuing to manifest in this society?
We need to teach ourselves. We need to surround ourselves with the right people who are actually making change. We don't need to just talk about change. We need to be the change. And it's bigger than let's go out and riot and let's go out and gather everybody together. Okay, you're gathering, but then what? I recently did a rally for youth at Urban Specialists, that's where I work, guys. And listening to those youth, I put together the rally because I wanted, if you looked at the flyer, it looked like they were going to just rally it up, you know, like they got the bull horns on there, we got the flag, you get you crunk. You go in there, I had on gospel music. I had some croissants and some pineapples. And they was like, dang, I thought I was coming to a rally. Yeah, you thought. You came to a problem-solving strategy session.
Yes.
And what I did was I put together a problem-solving tree. And my questions that I asked them were 3 questions. Who are you? What are you fighting for? And why are you fighting? Because then I knew that if I put your mind to think actions, and then now you've identified what you're fighting for, now I need you to put some action behind that. So now what are these 3 actionable solutions that you're going to do when you leave here? One young man said, I'm going to take pictures with some of my white friends and let them know that we do communicate. There is unity. Another young man said, well, I'm going to teach my little sister the amendments because he didn't even know how many amendments there were. And then I had another young lady who said, I'm just going to pray. So to answer the question, I would say that you have to teach your mind, your subconscious mind, like you said, that filter all things before you respond and don't always react from an emotional space. Sometimes you have to respond from a logical space because when you think logically, your emotions cannot cloud your judgment.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Russ. Okay.
Thank you. Hey, hello, how y'all doing? How we give me that word. Unnormalize. Unnormalized. We normal people, right?
Yeah.
Unnormalized doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Racism is not normal, like you said, it's taught. So I'll just reference when I first met Erykah Badu. We were at a panel like this. We were talking about Angela Davis. And there was this liberal white dude that had worked with Obama, right? He was from Highland Park. And he was with one of the guys that were hosting the event. And he asked the panel, it was Angela Davis, what's her name? The city councilwoman, she was real short, Esther Davis or whatever. You had a lot of celebrities and Erykah. And he's like, asked the question, he's like, I love helping the black people. I love going and doing fundraisers and coat drives and giving them food. But how can I go up and ask somebody, how can I help you more? Everybody kind of freaked out. They were trying to be stepping on eggshells, right? And then I was bold. I said, hey, can I talk to my brother? And they're like, yeah. I said, you want to help? They don't need your help. What they need is you to recognize them as the same as you. Go over to Blackjack Pizza in South Dallas and go buy some pizza. You know what I'm saying? Go over to Pan-African Action. Spend your money in the black community. And then go over there and play some dominoes with somebody. Because instead of unnormalizing racism, normalize it. Hey, yo, I feel you. I understand. Hey man, I heard Junior don't got no money to pay to mow his grass. Let's go mow his grass. And then when it gets to like that, when you go into the black community, you're a white person, and the people in the cut, they're not gonna be sitting there like, yo, is he a cop?
Yeah.
Is he a cop? Somebody else gonna say, no, that's that cool ass dude Russell, man. I said that's how you solve the problem is by getting together. And one of the things that they did in the 80s, and I hate that they took it out. It was called desegregation. I'm a product of desegregation. When I grew up by Keys Park, it was almost 100% white. Kimball was 100% white. Sock was black.
Yes.
Roosevelt was black. And they said M&M transfers, majority to minority. Now, if it's white, you could transfer to Lincoln or Madison. And most white kids were scared of black kids, including me. But my black friends that as I started to grow up with, they could go to Hillcrest. They could go to W.T. White. They could transfer. And that forced transfer forced people to be around each other when they're young enough to say, hey, this is normal to be around each other.
That's redlining.
You know what I'm saying? That we lost that. My school, when I got there at Adamson High School in '82, we were the first 30-30-30 school. Now, granted, we were tribal. Everybody went to their corner. It was new. We were trying it out. By the time I left there, it was 50% Hispanic, 40% black, and 10% other. I fell in that. Now it's 99.9% Hispanic. You know what I'm saying? We have majority schools, and we're not trying to desegregate. What I do like to see, though, is what's happening with these cultural charter schools. And that's another answer to unnormalizing racism, is by getting to know who you are. Once you know who you are, you can go out to culture and you can, like, be who you are and see people eye to eye. I'm sorry, I like to talk. I'm good.
He was gonna answer every question.
And you know he'll keep going, honey. You know he's gonna keep going.
So,
Yeah, I brought her to keep me on the block.
Together, honey.
so Shireen, I know you wanted to go ahead and intervene.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I think about the 3/5 clause. Basically, we came over here as property. We came over here as property. I think that's allowed us to be dehumanized here. So when these things happen to us, it's not like it's happening to a person.
Exactly.
We came over here under the guise of being 3/5 of a person. And just because you take it out of a law, that doesn't leave you. The same way that black people are still dealing with colorism,
You better
that
say
started
that.
400 years ago, people are still carrying that mindset that black people aren't property. So when you see us hanging from trees and you see all these things happening and us getting shot in the street like dogs,
Yes.
it's because they don't see us as human.
Yes.
And to piggyback what everybody else says, it's going to take the communication. White people need to come in. We need to be open to them coming in. We need to be able to have that open dialogue for us to be humanized and to be seen as human. Because the fact that you said that football player with the dogs, Lord, his name just slipped me. Mike Vick. The fact that he could get that time for killing dogs, and it took burning this country down to get 4 police officers arrested after killing a man in broad daylight on camera. We're not human here, and that needs to change. But I think the dialogue that everybody was talking about is what needs
She
to
better
happen to
say
make that happen.
that.
Everybody snap. Everybody snap.
Yeah, we snapping at the real.
All right, Mama Angela, real quick.
Going back to what you were saying about, going back to what you were saying about us not being treated as human, being treated as property, and that is the problem. In the Constitution, we were written as property.
Say that.
And even when they did the Constitution, they made amendments. But
Yeah.
they never really changed that part about us being property. They just made amendments to the Constitution. And amendments that they made were very small. They didn't give us rights as men and as human. They gave us a little bit of something to
Just to say
pacify
I
us,
did something.
to say they did something when they actually didn't do anything. Because if they did anything,
We wouldn't be here.
we wouldn't be dealing with the anti-lynching law right now.
Ooh, yeah.
In 2020.
Still fighting the same
Now,
fight.
in bill,
Wait, hold on.
now in Congress right now, they're working on an anti-lynching bill. Okay, now there's a congressman, he wants to make some changes to it. Because with the anti-lynching bill, it's saying that you cannot inflict pain or any crime on a person of color just because
Yes.
they color. That means you cannot hang them, you can't put your knee on their neck, you cannot bruise them, you cannot cut them, you cannot put any harm physically on them because of color. Okay, that's going on in Congress right now. But there's a congressman, which I'm sure he speaks for a few congressmen of his group, who do not want that bill passed into law.
You can say his name.
Okay? Because what it is, I forgot his name. But because what it is with that anti-lynching bill, he's saying, well, one was put there for Emmett Till. So our black congressman saying, so you're telling me someone has to be brutalized, vowed, and hung like Emmett Till for it to be called anti-lynching?
Get out.
That's what's going on right now in Congress. See, what we need to do is learn who our congressmen are,
Yes.
learn who our senators are, our House of Representatives are,
Yes.
research them, see what bills they're trying to pass, see what bills and laws they have passed, look up their background, who were they in college, what organizations were they a part of in college.
PQ, was it?
Just like they do background checks on us extensively for jobs,
There you go, Queen.
interview with 8 people.
Go ahead and put
Say
his
his
name
name. Go ahead and put it
Okay.
down.
Put his name out. And
His name is U.S. Representative Louis, what's that, Gohmert?
Oh, that's Texas too.
That's Texas, yeah.
And that's the thing right there. See, Texas, we have the second largest number of delegates in the White House. The second largest. Okay? We're the ones who put the president there, really.
Do you hear me?
There. Okay? He's the one who put the president there when they want him there.
Now look,
We're a full red state. We have some blue here.
Angela.
Yes.
Hey, that's that Gen X. That's that Gen X.
She said if you really want to get there, wait a minute, that's what got me.
We're gonna get into it.
Yeah, she said if you really want to go there, she
But
was with the
remember,
smoke. I love
vote
it.
in that every 2-year election. That is the important election. Those the ones who's writing the bills to pass the law. Okay.
All right. So look. So look.
That's me.
No, we're gonna Russell. So Earl said something earlier. He was saying something about our black people just turn their left eye, or they don't say nothing, or they don't care. So to Jeff and Russell, when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement, when we often see white and even some black people become defensive, then they rebuttal by bringing up black on black crime. Is black on black crime a real thing? If so, how?
Crime is a real thing. Murder's a real thing. And when we get into separating what type of murder is what type of murder, you know what I'm saying?
He hit something right there.
Okay.
I see you, bro.
And going back to the other question, we gotta hold the white Christian churches accountable. When something happens like this, and if you say you Christian, but you are silent,
Let's go. What you talking about?
you know, Christ wouldn't stand for that.
No, not at all.
So that's what I'm saying. Black on black, white on white. More white people kill white people than black people do, right? Because we around each other. Black people kill black people because they around each other. Okay, but there's some other things too in there, like she was talking about property. It gets ingrained through the Willie Lynch letter that you ain't about nothing, and then the colorism, and then who is inbred with white people, or you better because it's all by design, and it's, you know, I was watching the King of Oyotunji Village. I posted this video on my page. It's really about us getting back to knowing who we are and knowing who our ancestors are, and then coming together, no matter if you're Jehovah's Witness, Hebrew Israelite, Islam, Yoruba, Christian, whatever you are. If you black and something happens like that, we need to circle the wagons, you know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And then if you got friends and they ain't saying nothing, you need to train white people. Train them. I'm not trying to be funny. You got to train people because you know what? They're sheeple. There's a lot of sheeple. And they'll follow who is teaching them. So if we teach our white friends, don't give them all the knowledge, you know.
Yeah, give them a little bit.
Give them a little bit. But then white people that come around, like Bandeli over at Pan-African, you got to watch out for the okie-doke. Because white people will come in like a wolf in sheep's clothing. I've been around for more, man, I've been rocking shoes. I'm telling you, I'm just saying.
All right, Russell, we know you've been rocking for a while.
Okay, but that's me. I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic because I've been tasked.
Come on, Jeff, what you got?
So I like what he said about people around people kill people. But that's the true statement to an extent, because the Bible says for God to love your neighbors. So forget about killing the people next to you. The first thing we need to do as black people is we need to look in the mirror and check ourselves, because it's true that more white people kill white people and black people kill black people. I looked at a stat just the other day, and I'm gonna just quote a number. I don't remember the numbers off top, but black people killed more black people than white people did. And yes, they're in our, so that's your black on black crime question. But if we check that, and I'm a firm believer that people do to you what they see other people do to you. So if white people are standing on the outside looking in to our window and they see us killing each other, they just gonna say, shit,
They doing it. Why I can't do it?
Yeah.
So we have to check ourselves. We have to first look in the all of these statements are cool, but we have to look at ourselves first, because we doing it, and it goes all the way back to slavery. It goes black slave owners sold slaves to white slave owners. It goes all the way back, and we've been doing it to ourselves for years. So where does it stop? We're in 2020 now, and we're still killing each other. We're still accepting what the white person wants to give us. They give us in Minnesota, they give you $100 to go tear up Target. And we say, okay, cool, and we take that. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X got killed by our own brothers. So where does it stop? And it happened for money. We sold dope to our own people. All of these things, and I'm just as guilty. I've done it. But the point is to stop, think about, if you know that you've been programmed, deprogram and reprogram. It's simple. Because for you to know that you've been programmed, you got to be a fool to just still walk around programmed. So stop accepting what they do. Learn your laws, and I appreciate all the laws, and learn your laws and know your laws and live the law, because the law is not just for white people. It's for people. They say it's just for white people because we don't pay attention to it. We just accept what they give us. I'll probably say it a million times before the night is over. If we stop pointing the finger at everybody else and look in the mirror and understand what we're doing to ourselves, everybody gonna do to us. And it's gonna continue to happen till we check the inside and then go to the outside. And then we can check the outside, because the outside will check themselves. There's no way that if we stop killing ourselves, they're gonna look at it and say, okay, we can still do it. Because now we're standing in unison, and we're protecting ourselves, and we're loving our brothers. If you love her and she loves her and so on and so forth, if we stop talking about what they're doing to us, they'll stop doing it. Because now they feel like we really care about ourselves. Because other than that, they feel like we don't. So not to say that the brother was right, the white dude was right for being on the brother's neck, but again, we have to stop doing shit to ourselves. We have to stop putting ourselves in.
I don't think that justifies though.
No. I'm not saying that justifies. That doesn't justify anything. I'm saying that if we stop doing things to give reason for people, and we do stuff, our people will go buy a $250 pair of Jordans instead of registering our vehicle. I'm not justifying.
But check this out. Even if everybody was kumbaya, you know what? They were kumbaya in the Nation of Islam. They were kumbaya in Tulsa. They was chilling. They weren't killing each other in Tulsa, and the white people still came in.
What they were doing in Tulsa doesn't account for what they was doing in Chicago.
Yeah, but what we're saying is we have peace and everybody doing good. If we don't hold white people, they're still going to want to divide it up.
So if we can understand what I'm saying when I say that, if we can work together and stop working against each other.
I can see that though.
That's the problem.
That's one part.
Working together. That's the whole part.
I agree with you that
and
we
then
have
holding other people
things
accountable
in our community that we need to get together.
Yes.
That's without a doubt.
Yes, and that's
but
the main.
But at the same time, that phrase "black on black crime" annoys me, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because two people sat up here and just said that more white people kill each other than black people do. Why is it that we never hear white on white crime? Why is that not a phrase? Why don't we hear Asian on Asian crime?
It never hear that. Sell.
It's immediate perpetuation to make us look a certain type of way. Here's the other problem with black on black crime to me. When black brother A kills black brother B, black brother B is going to jail. And they're going to throw the book at him.
But
when a white man does it, again, the country has to burn for somebody to go to jail. Okay, that's the problem. There's no accountability when a white man does it.
You better
It's
say
not
that.
equal. That's the problem. We need equal.
Yeah,
if a black man does it, he should go to jail.
Yeah, he
but
should.
so should a white man.
So should a white man.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
And it shouldn't take so long for them to get arrested.
No, it shouldn't.
If you, as a black officer or a black person.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. If you were a black officer, right? Mm-hmm. And you did the same exact thing in the reverse. how long do you think it would have taken them to
You wouldn't have
arrest
popped out
you?
from your
And
We don't need the time.
So that's what we're saying right there. We understand what you're saying and everything about the black on black crime and everything, but that's the first thing they holler when we talk about how you're treating us and how you're brutalizing us and how you're violating us. The first thing the groups holler is, well, what about your black on black crime? Okay,
But we don't want to. We not.
that's their justification.
That's their justification. I'm not ever justifying. I'm not ever justifying what we do to each other. What I'm saying, if we stop doing it to each other, it'll make them recognize that there's
But we
more
gotta be
camaraderie.
realistic too. Like, it's not gonna, like, people are gonna keep, like, I mean, not saying that it's okay, but we gotta be with the fact that it's gonna, like, people are gonna hurt people. Like, that's a thing, and we can't stop it from being a thing. As badly as we want life to be perfect, it's never going to be perfect. Now, what we should do is identify that, yes, there are disparities. Yes, we should stop killing each other. But at the end of the day, regardless of if I'm black, if I'm white, when you do wrong by me, wrong is wrong, right is right. And I think what we need to understand is that it's not even a color thing, it's a principle thing. It's the fact that you don't have the same principles that I do. It's the fact that my code is different from yours. It's the fact that when I tell you to respect me, I want respect and I'm not asking for it twice.
Right. Exactly.
And they don't understand that when I'm proving my point and I speak with my hands, or if I hold my hair a certain way, or if I put my hair in a bun and I go into a Caucasian workplace, that threatens you. Why? Because I hold my hair with a different type of queendom. And when I'm walking into a room, it's not that I don't want to be friends with a white person, but it's that when I go to restaurants and I'm the only black couple that's walking into this restaurant and everybody's looking at me like, oh my God, I've never seen a black girl before. That's what frustrates me. Because when I see you, let me tell you what I'm gonna do. How are you? You look beautiful, girl. I love that hat. I love those shoes. And we have to do more of that. Not blaming nobody for nothing. It's just teaching our minds to know that what's going on is not okay. Let's collaborate. Let me put some money in your pocket. You got a business, cool. You're doing something. And speaking on that, when we are supporting black-owned businesses, not getting upset with them if they can't speak a certain way, or not getting upset with them if they don't know the change off the top of their heads. We have to be more calm with our people doing what we do. So I don't know, honey.
All right, come on, Bridget. What you got?
Get us right.
All right, so first, first, look, and I mean this with all love and all respect. I know people that are listening, watching right now that are white. If you're white and you're watching this right now and you're hearing terms that you don't know, that you've never heard of, now is the time to write it down so that after this is done, you can go do your research. Because I know from I'm a trainer in my real life. I train people, that's what I do, right? But write it down so that when we're done with this conversation, you can go and do the research that you need to do to learn what these things are. Black people have learned this their whole lives. They didn't have no choice. They had to learn this from the beginning. Us, we got lucky. We didn't have to know all this stuff. But now you need to know. You need to learn. So if you're hearing things that you don't know, that you don't, like, it doesn't register with you, because there's a lot of terms going around right now that a normal white person don't know. You need to look it up. You need to find out. You need to do your research. That's your duty. Okay? Now, aside from that, before, and I'll make it quick. All right, I know we got more questions. We're on like number 2. All right. So there's a concept that I learned in a psychology class, and it's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Anyone in the room have you heard of it?
Yes.
Maslow's hierarchy. All right.
That's impressive.
All right. So if you're white and you're watching, write it down. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. All right. Okay. Hopefully y'all already know. All right. So the concept of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, is that at the very base level is your basic needs: food, shelter, housing. Right? Food, shelter, housing. Then you start moving up. You start moving into things like employment, health. Then you get into the love and belonging is the third one, right? Like your relationships, your friendships, stuff like that. Then when you start getting into the higher ones, it's like self-actualization. That's when you're actually like thriving. You're really making moves. You're really doing things in life, right? Yes. So when you mention black on black crime, okay? If you are not safe, if you do not have food, shelter, and housing, you are going to do whatever the hell you need to do to make shit happen. And you know what? I'm sorry, but a lot of y'all haven't been in a situation where you gotta do what you gotta do to make sure you got food, shelter, and everything that goes along with it. So if you want to mention black on black crime and you want to talk about that, why don't you talk about what they're doing and why they're doing it? Because it starts with food, shelter, housing, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Is that cool?
Hey, Bridget.
Perfectly, because that's going to go into our next question. So when it comes to deflecting, how we address those, when it comes to deflecting, how we address those people that ignore the reason why people are protesting and only choosing to acknowledge the way they're protesting, like how do you guys deflect on that? Like they more so pay attention to how we're doing it versus the reason why.
Oh, this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one. Alright, so let's just all think about what racism and oppression is for a second. Sorry, I get real excited and talk with my hands. Yeah. Alright, so racism and oppression in general is a form of abuse, no? Right? It's a form of abuse, okay? Except the majority of the abuse that people handle in their lifetime is short. Maybe in their childhood, maybe in a toxic relationship. But racism in general is a lifetime of abuse, right? It's generational abuse, okay? And so if you see your friend, right, your girlfriend, and she's in an abusive relationship, right? She's, you know, you just know that guy's real toxic. You see it, you see the signs, you feel it, right? Even if you don't even witness it all the time, you feel it. Like, just a word, a look, you sense it, right? And then, you know what? One day, and you know, like, behind the scenes, that's your friend. She's been getting hurt real bad, right? And I'm sorry if this is triggering for anybody. I went through some shit in my life, so I'm sorry if I'm, you know, but... So, you know how bad it was, right? Broken bones, bruises, marks, things that go on in the home that people didn't even know about, okay? If one day she pops off and she kills him and burns the house down, ain't nobody gonna say shit, right? Nobody's gonna say nothing because he was abusing her. He was abusing her, right? Okay? That triggers, right? When you're abused, it triggers your fight or flight. Okay, that triggers your fight or flight. You don't get to decide how someone handles their fight or flight, especially when they haven't had a chance to heal and learn how to handle it.
Oh, you better
right?
say that.
You don't get to decide that that's the right reaction, that they shouldn't do that they shouldn't do that. You know what? However you handle abuse and fight or flight, and when you're triggered, I'm not saying do it forever. I'm not saying it's acceptable and I'm going to say, okay, yeah, forever. No. But you know what? However you handle it at that time is okay. Because you know what? You've been hurt. You've been abused. And I am no one to tell you how you're going to handle your hurt. That is not up to me.
Reject.
We need a
Yeah.
Oh.
You want?
You can go ahead. You can go. Yeah.
Can you repeat that question one more time? I just want to look more detail real quick.
When it comes to deflecting, how we do address those people that ignore the reason why people are protesting versus the reason why, or acknowledge the reason why, the way that they're protesting.
Okay. First off, hey y'all, I know I haven't said a word since we've been to everybody else talk. But I just want to first set a little bit of a background before I give you my response to that. So prior to moving and coming to Dallas, I was at HBCU, Savannah State University, and I was the NAACP president for our school. So just being in politics as a whole has put me in a position to have conversations with every race, not just our race, right? And just FYI, the NAACP was founded by more than just black people. It's also white people. Just a little fun fact there. But so just that kind of set the background for my response there. But I would say just recently I have a friend from a small town in Georgia who asked me through Instagram that very question, why come or how come we don't protest differently or are the riots necessary? And for me, I felt like I was very triggered because she asked me the question of why are the riots happening instead of why was he killed in broad daylight. So I'm like, okay, we haven't talked in a very long time since high school, but the very first mention of conversation that you choose to have with me, also blonde girl, blue eyes, blonde hair, all that, but she was a great friend in high school. But anyways, so that triggered me because I'm wondering, why is it that your question is more so about the riot and the reaction than about the issue that caused it? Like, you're asking me about why a response is happening and how come, I'm just confused, right? The dialogue started from a very triggering place, in my opinion. So for me, I flipped the screen on her and asked her, well, what is your solution? What do you think black people should do? And you better believe she gave me all types of answers of peaceful protest and MLK this and MLK that, which is everything we have been doing for how long? Right, but guess who didn't know that? She didn't. She didn't know that because she's not living that truth, right? So that was my opportunity to educate her on that situation. So I think, one, taking the time to educate them and flash that mirror back in their face and ask them, well, if you were in the situation, which you never would be, what would you do? What are your solutions? What do you think would be the best or the appropriate way to handle that? And she could not give me an answer. So what is a riot, in my opinion? That's a casualty. And let MLK tell it, that is the voice of the who? The unheard. So I don't see a riot. I see a reaction. I see oppression in response.
I know one thing I heard, it was a meme. It said, it was a meme that was very interesting to me. It said, do you have the right to burn something that you built for free?
Okay.
So that was a whole nother perspective, you know, that I had to look at, because, you know, this country was built upon the backs of black people. Like, I'm very big on facts and resources and understanding that there is systematic laws that was put to keep us from not just civil rights, but human rights. I love everything that Martin Luther King did. He was fighting for civil rights, and one thing I say, he should have been fighting for human rights, because that's the main thing that we're getting wrong right now. Another thing I heard was talking about for riots. We're following a path after, what's my brother that got beat in California? Rodney King. If that person wasn't on that balcony that night with that bad grain video recorder that you can hold on your shoulder and recorded that beating that night, that would have went unheard. And the things that happened right after that was the LA riots. And that went on for what, about a week? And then you got change. And all of a sudden that became the constant reaction for us. Every time something big happened, we riot. Depending on the duration of the riot, we'll finally get a response or an answer. So I'm actually, like I said earlier, I'm proud of Generation Z and how they're not dealing with the bullshit. Like, we all, one thing I can say from my father to my grandfather to my great-great-grandfather to my great-great-great-grandfather, we all deal with racism. We all deal with this oppression that's built with this American diaspora. So I'm gonna wait till it's my turn to actually, you know, reference something. I just wanted to tag that in.
I just wanted to bring attention to something else that I keep hearing. It seems like everybody that has conversations with white people who aren't quite in the know, the go-to is always, you know, Martin Luther King did things peacefully. I need people to remember that they killed him. Like, we seem to forget that he was assassinated. So while people talk about his peaceful protests, he was enemy number one to the FBI. So, and I learned this, you know, not too long ago, that he actually didn't die from that gunshot wound. He made it to the hospital and was suffocated in his bed. And his family won the civil suit against the government for his death. So, again, while people bring up the fact that, you know, Martin Luther King was peaceful, our government killed him because they were afraid of him. Now, to get back to the actual question that's there, I think it's a real simple answer. White people don't like to be uncomfortable, and it's an uncomfortable conversation when you have to address why things are happening instead of how they are happening. They did the same thing with Colin Kaepernick, in my opinion. He said he was kneeling for injustice and for black men who were dying, and what happened? They didn't want to have that conversation, so the narrative was changed, and it turned into he was disrespecting the flag. Well, nobody believed he was disrespecting the flag because he actually got the idea from a veteran. So when you think about things like that, you know, he did his protest and was blackballed, and then we forget that in 2012, Tim Tebow did the same thing in protest of abortion, and he got deals from it. So you look at all of these things, And you see, the bottom line is people just don't want to have the uncomfortable conversation. Exactly. Because if you talk about the real issue, that means white people have to be held accountable for the way they treated us. Mm-hmm. When you look at high school, I have a feeling a lot of people up here on the panel know the things that they know, not from high school. I know everything I know now. I didn't learn any of it in school. Nope. In U.S. history, the most that we learned was there was slavery, Lincoln abolished slavery, and that was it. You don't hear about the black babies they threw to alligators, or the way that they would rape black men to break them in front of their families, and the way that they tore up the black home. Like, you don't hear those things. You have to go out and you have to officially look for it, because again, all of this has been swept under the rug because they don't like to have the uncomfortable conversations. So to make my answer kind of short, I mean, you just got to confront it and let them know that the conversation should not be about how it's happening. It should be about the why. And until we're able to talk about the why with everyone, black, white, other, nothing's going to change.
Absolutely. And I want to speak on that too, regarding about, what you were not taught like in high school and in school when it came to what was happening to the blacks and the black history. I was so surprised to find out that there were so many states that did not require black history as a part of your curriculum. You had U.S. history, you had American history, but you didn't have black history as part of the history for the U.S. So not all states, some states did not. I'm not going to say where I came from, we had black history from elementary school all the way up to through high school. We were taught black history. So it needs to be included, not as black history, but a part of American history, because it is a part of American history. And why so many feel uncomfortable about speaking on it, that's just like your house. You don't want nobody to know how foul and devout your house is.
That's the word.
You don't want to know that. So that's why they don't have it in our American history books. But if they had it in our American history books, it could change on some racism. Because then the next generation going on can see the wrong that was done and why we protest, not riot. We only riot when we're not doing like they want us to do, accepting what they want us to accept. Then it's a riot. We're protesting. Okay? But however, going forward with the next generation, if they enter the black history into the American history curriculum and make that part of all school curriculums from elementary, junior high to high school, then there'll be an understanding. Then you will understand me. Then you'll know how wrong it was. Because again, racism is taught from generation to generation. Great-great-grandmama and granddaddy and great-grandmama and granddaddy and on down. But only now with Generation Z,
yes,
okay, because of technology, because of social media and everything, they said, hey, this is not right. That's why you had every person of color out there protesting.
You better tell them, Mama.
Okay, because of social media and technology. All this was hidden. It's been going on. It never stopped. It never slowed down. It's just now they have the cameras on them.
And just to piggyback off of what she said about the protest, you have a lot of undercover officers and other extremists in these groups out here doing this vandalism and damaging these buildings and doing all of that and blaming it on peaceful protesters.
Google it.
They
They're getting caught on film, though.
Extremists. Google it.
They are out
They're
there
getting
to
caught on film.
undermine what we are out there to do. And it's so easy to blame us because it's always been so easy to blame us.
Yes.
So pay attention. You can look and you see the pictures and you see the video of cops out there busting out windows, slashing tires. You see undercover officers with their bulletproof vests under their you see it.
White kids with skateboards.
You have to pay attention. Yeah,
you
gotta pay attention.
All right, this is getting good. Okay. So understanding the tradition of the police is to know the first police system created in the U.S. was slave patrol.
Yes.
With that being said, the discrimination and the brutality, that black people face at the hands of police officers is not unusual or unexpected. So DQ and Kisa, do you believe that racism is so deeply rooted in the police that it can't be changed?
One word.
One thing I will say, I always believe in change. There can always be changed once there's the proper information given and the proper internal changes have been modified. I do understand that the police system did come from the plantation. And, you know, I got some references and facts for it. There's an article people should bring up. It's called A Brief History of Slavery and the Origins of American Policy. It's written by Victor E. Kapler. He's a PhD scientist, but he explains how the whole origins of it and how the mindset of the police stem from, as she said, us being property. One thing that's different from American slavery, from the trans-Saharan slave trade, which we went through before we went through the North Atlantic transatlantic slave trade, is that we was looked at as property, chattel property. So all these make-believe, I'm rebellious. All these make-believe amendments that make us fit into their idea of what a human being is, and you know, I'm not with it. You know, when it comes to me, I'm avid Second Amendment. I tell every able black person to register to get a gun. I tell every black woman to register to get a gun. You know, it's 68,000 Caucasian females that have guns in Texas, and only 11,000 for black females. Like, people really have to understand how that is. Of course, the number is even crazier when it comes to white males and African American males when it comes to that. But that's just on a whole nother note. I mean, register to get your guns licensed. You know, I thought we was at a bar. That's the only reason I bring mine in. You know what I'm saying? So, people gotta understand that's what we gotta do. But I do believe that the policing will change, as the sister and the queen brought up, that this social media has brought a light to it. Another note with this COVID-19 situation, all our ass had to sit down. You had to be in the house. We all were susceptible to look at the same thing. Me as being an artist, it's been kind of hard to create. Well, not hard to create, but a lot of us are creating the same type vibe because we're looking at the same type shit. You know what I'm saying? That's the situation that we're going through right now. But I can go deep into how the mindset of slavery and how we're still dealing with repercussions of that. But strictly to stick on the police situation of it, yes, it did stem from that. Yes, changes need to be made. And until it's done internally, we want to see a change on the outside. But I'm loving what I'm seeing, because I'm seeing young white kids getting at their parents.
Yeah.
One thing I know we don't do, we ain't talking back at them. We talking back to them like that. You know what I'm saying? They really getting in there. They really exposing them to the falsities that they have been taught their whole life, and understanding that things need to be rewritten. One thing that's very hard for adults is hard to unlearn. And one thing we need to do is unlearn, rebuild, and respond instead of react, like we're saying. You know, that's what we need to do, but I'm going to pass it on.
All right. Thanks. So I guess I'm going to answer this in a two-part way. So I'll first address just the question about if the police can basically be, what did you say? Sorry, say it again, one more time. I don't want to misquote.
Do you believe that racism is so deeply rooted in the police that it can't be changed?
So I don't. I do believe that that can be changed. And that's because I know officers personally who have joined that force to try to, you know, fix that situation. Now they have multiple, you know, pressures against them, even internally fighting them on that. But I think that just goes back to the infrastructure of how the police force is even set up today. So, for example, you have a heart surgeon. They have to take 4 years college, 4 years.
Come on with it.
I know where you're going.
Yes.
Let's go, Queen.
Get it.
Let's go, Queen.
And 5 years of general residency.
Shit,
So
use
you have
cosmetology.
13 years.
Yes. Use cosmetology.
That's 1,500 hours.
I'm with you.
So you have 13 years that it takes somebody to get the approval to make my heart start, but it only takes you 17 weeks to get the approval to make my heart stop.
Let's go. Let's go.
That just doesn't make sense.
Say that again.
So that's the
Hashtag that thing.
I'm making a shirt to say that.
Thank you, Kimmy.
But no. 5%.
So that just breaks down to me like that's an infrastructure issue. You have other people, licensed professionals, who are required to retake exams and get reevaluated to make sure they're still fit to do their job. What level of accountability is that in the police force? Where do we see that at? You don't, right?
Right.
And I'm gonna go a little political, just a little bit, because you know NAACP.
Come on with it.
So I understand that a lot of our generation, millennials speaking, feels like, or some of it, not a lot, some of them feel like that our votes don't count, right? They don't change anything. So what can we do besides talking, besides protesting, besides social media posting? Do what you can do, and that is use your vote. Because who votes in the commissioner that oversees the police force?
Yep.
The people do. So if the people locally are not voting, then who was going to choose the commissioner? Everyone who was on the opposite side of our team, right? So do what you can do, even if you don't think it changes. Well, just posting and just protesting and just social media, that doesn't change also locally. So do what you can do, use your vote, and vote that commissioner out of there.
I'm definitely with you. I piggyback off that. I piggyback at that. Most important, people need to understand that local elections is way more important than presidential elections. You really have to understand that. I have one more point that I want to drop before I pass the mic to Queen. One thing that I know, because right now, a lot of the solutions we're talking about is dealing with the opposite side, what they need to do. I know one thing that we can do that'll force their hand, because I'm big on finessing and forcing hands. You know, that's what we got to do. If we really, all these young kings that we have, really set aside and got life insurance. If every black person had $1 million life insurance, who's going to tell these cops to quit killing people? It ain't going to be us, it's the damn insurance company.
Not wrong.
Just one way that we can clean up community just on our end. Just one of the things that we can do indoors. Like, they ain't even got to know what we doing. Indoors. And you know why we always say keep everything that's in the house in the house. This is something we can do in the house. Get them life insurance policies. I bet damn well they're going to clean up them streets. I bet damn well they're going to put lights on them light poles. I bet damn well they're going to go. You want to hit them where it hurts. Next time.
You're right. That's a good point, though. Okay, real quick, Russell, real quick.
No, ain't your business.
Quick.
Okay, real quick. Back in the 80s, when crime was real rough in New York, they had this organization called Guardian Angels. I don't know if you guys remember. The little white dudes run around with red hats, right? Okay. Fast forward. A couple years back, we had the Huey P. Newton Gun Club. Okay, let's go back into the 70s. We had the Black Panthers. We got the Nation of Islam. What they do is they take care of their community. We don't need the cops. So organizations like Urban Specialists. The truth. And then, because I remember at one time at IBOT, Pastor Rush was training the young men at the church to patrol. So we get Full Gospel, Potter's House, Friendship West, Antioch.
Kingdom More.
There we go. Come on. Yeah. That's our turn.
Forgive my
I'm just saying, we get together, we patrol, right? Right? We do that. We hold each other accountable in the community. And then one of the biggest problems in the community is economics. Let's start putting money in each other's pockets. And that's going to solve a lot of crime too. Here we go.
Right.
We don't need the police.
So I got a question for Miranda and Angela. All right. If we sum up the 13th Amendment, in short, pretty much justifies when it's legal for you to become a slave, and that is whenever you commit a crime. So how do you think this piece of America's Constitution is related to the mass incarceration of black men throughout the country?
More sleep.
You ready for the mic?
That's the alley-oop. That's the alley-oop.
They need a way to lock down our people, obviously. And our penitentiary is filled with blacks. So what better way to find a reason to lock our black men up and to get them back under a slave mentality and to put them into a prison and say that they committed a crime? There's people that are in prison for something as minor as selling weed. But then a man can walk free, a white man can walk free, and he has shot up a church. He has shot up a movie theater. He has shot an innocent black man that's been walking, and he said he looks suspicious. So what better way to keep us oppressed than to keep our men locked up in jail?
Our kings.
Yes, exactly.
And then the corporations make money off of the labor in the prison.
That's the real reason. I'm like,
Can you ask the question
I'll ask the question again. So the question is, how do you think this piece of America's Constitution, which is the 13th Amendment, is related to the mass incarceration of black men throughout the country?
Okay, again, going back to the Constitution, they never actually made changes. They made amendments. So you went from the plantation to the penitentiary.
Let's go, 2 P's.
That's the 13th Amendment right there.
Hold on, let that one sit for a second. Let it sit.
Yeah, that's what happened right there.
Okay.
They didn't just start going to prison. They've been going to prison since they left the plantation. If you think about it, for anything, just for being hungry and taking a plum off a cart after the slaves was free. Now remember, when the slaves was free, they wasn't given anything when it was free. They was let go to go out and fend for themselves.
We thrive, Reconstruction.
Okay, so therefore they were free. They was not given anything. So what was they gonna do to eat? They was gonna steal. Once they stole, what was gonna happen? To prison, back on a chain gang, back on a plantation. That's the 13th Amendment, as far as I see it.
May I say something?
Go ahead, Jeff.
So, y'all don't know me. I'm a 3-time convicted felon. And I've been federal and state. And everything that's said is true about black people in prison and white people in prison. But there are not more black people in prison there than there are white people. There's way more white people in prison than black people. Yes, sweetheart, I'm telling you. I've been there.
The ratio proportion to the race.
Yeah, when you look at the proportion to the race, the percentage looks like it's more black people, but it's more white people.
That's we did.
Well, just population-wise, we're minority. So just numbers-wise, even when they pulled up the numbers speaking about black-on-black crime, and they showed that high number, they didn't show that's just a minute number. They didn't show the double number accounting for how many Caucasians are here. Right. So they're just inflating numbers. Right. So I do believe what he's saying, because the media is going to portray that it's only black-on-black in jail.
The media in the county jail, there's more. In the county jail, there's more black people. But when you get to federal and state, there's more white. But what I want to express is that when guys get out of prison and they subject themselves to the same old thing, it's because they think that that's all they have.
Yep.
And that's a lie.
Hold on. How do they submit themselves when you get out of prison? You can't have an apartment. They won't hire you. How are they submitting themselves to their own saying, there's no other option?
Hey, listen here, man. Listen here, man. I am not. I won't let you. Please. I will not let you sit here and say that, because again, I'm a 3-time convicted felon. I've been to prison, federal and state, and I own a $220,000 business.
Shout out to God.
Stop. Black owned business.
Do you feel like that's the rule or the exception?
That's the exception. We accept that shit. I will not sit back and let. I'm sick of people saying that, because they don't. If you've never been to prison, then you don't know what it's like to get out to nothing.
I got your stats, brother. 64%.
Thank you, brother. So when people think, convicted felons, guys don't know when they go to prison, they should sit down and learn something and be ready to get out and go do something. But they're ready to get out and go do nothing because they think that there's nothing to do. But I happen to know that every convicted felon, except for in 3 states, can vote when they get off of parole and probation.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yes, they can.
Yes. Every convicted felon every convicted felon can purchase a firearm in the state of Texas after he's off his parole.
Wow.
But he can't carry. So see, these are things that our people don't try to learn and know. They just want to get out and do the same shit over and over again. So again, it goes back to checking yourself.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
I did this twice. This is my second business. So I did this twice. I went in and got out with 0 twice. And so we came in. You sit around and say, well, the white man doing this and the white man holding us down. You holding yourself down.
Yeah. I like
You holding yourself down. Stop holding yourself down. Learn something. You go to prison. You don't go to prison to make 8 cents an hour. I was in the state prison and I made 8 cents an hour to do nothing. If I wanted to work and if I wanted to work in laundry, I was making 8 cents an hour. Or I could sit around and do nothing for 8 cents an hour. So I sat around and chose to do nothing for 8 cents an hour. I was in the law library. I was working out so I can go continue my football career. I went to the Fed joint and I worked in the barbershop and I did what I had to do to survive. It is slavery, but you got to understand when you do something. If you do something wrong, you got to be punished for it. So it's not an excuse to say that black people just going to jail for nothing. There are some people in prison that didn't do anything. I went to federal prison because I didn't do a thing, but I went, and I had to knuckle up and say, okay, I was just around the wrong people. And you got to accept that. As a man, you have to accept that, and as a man, you got to get back out and accept responsibility. 9.5 times out of 10, a dude that went in prison got a kid to take care of when he come back out. And if you get out and do the same old shit, then you going back in and you still got that kid that you got to take care of. I had sole custody of my son. I got out and got sole custody of my son. And opened my own barbershop. When I said I was going to open it in 5, I did it in 2.
Shout out to God.
So it's
a mindset change.
It's a mindset change. And when you go to prison, when you get in trouble, when you get a whooping from your parents, does your mindset change? I ain't gonna do that shit no more. Your mindset change. So so all of those whoopings you got from your parents, all of the whoopings you get in the community and your lifestyle, when you do something wrong and you go to prison, those are whoopings. Those are punishments. And the punishment gotta fit the crime, period. So back to what dude dying for what he did, whatever he did, if he did anything, it's wrong. So but we have to accept responsibility for what we do as men, especially men. We have to accept responsibility for what we do. So when you say that, you have to know somebody that's been there, Doc. And I refuse. And my man Mo, he'll tell you, I don't like when people say it. Because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. If you've never been to prison, you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm glad I made a mistake in saying that because I just got educated.
Right. No, and
instead of taking defense, I'm proud of your response.
That's grown man shit. That's grown man shit all day. So, and I want everybody to understand that your relationship with God and your relationship with yourself is the 2 key things of being successful in whatever it is that you do. When you fall on your face, the song, you fall down and get up.
Yes, sir.
You fall down and you fall down and you get up. If you want to crawl, you can crawl. If you want to walk, you can walk as long as you get up and pick yourself up. I'm a master at picking myself up and starting over from zero.
He
did
Okay, so this question is more so for everybody. For those of you who don't know, which everybody should know or heard of Black Lives Matter movement. If you didn't know, they use a platform called Act Blue. And basically this platform serves as the middleman. If you donate money, you donate it to Act Blue and then they disperse it to Black Lives Matter. So recently, the Black Lives Matter movement was accused from a Republican politician of being an arm of the Democratic National Committee because they use the same platform, Act Blue. So my question is to you guys, how do you think politicians use racism as a tool of advancement?
Let me speak up.
You want to start? Okay.
I want to piggyback off my brother Jeff. So I want to make sure they don't get it twisted. I'm going to give you my perspective of what Jeff said because it relates to the Black Lives Matter movement. But Jeff was saying what I received from that is, okay, yes, these things may be going on, but we have to understand there must be change within self. That's one thing that definitely we all have to walk away from in this. We can't go point finger bad white man, bad white person, bad white generation. We can't just constantly point on that. We can't, okay? But however, there must be an attention to, of course, yeah, Mr. White Man or white person or whoever, these things are going on and we will no longer stand for it. Now, with the Black Lives Matter movement, I'm paying attention. I'm going to speak political. I'm going to be real with you, all right? I'm watching Joe Biden, straight up, all right? He's the most vocal person right now in the Democratic Party. That dude was a pure testament of using race to sway votes. You go on Breakfast Club. Come on, man, check my record. Check my record.
Quote him. What do you say though?
Check my record.
What do you
And
say
at the end, you close it out on.
What do you say?
You close it out. You ain't black if you vote for Trump.
Wow.
That goes to show the mentality of the Democratic Party of saying that you black people are not educated enough to even check what's going on. You're going to sit up here and accept the fact because I know most black people don't like Trump. So I'm going to just say I'm going to bribe my vote and get my money from you based on that. Now, so I know for a fact that whatever was going on with this all Black Lives Matter movement, so I started doing a little research. I just went to the website for the first time like 2 days ago. First thing they got on there is defund police. I'm like, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know what the details of that is. Then I see things coming up, Minnesota getting rid of their police. What the fuck that come from? All we ask for is get your knee off the black man's neck, put him in respect, and go send him to jail. Give him justice. Nobody asked for defund the police and all this kind of stuff. Now you're trying to create, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're trying to say us saying this stuff, and you're trying to make us look stupid. Yep. You feel what I'm saying? And so it's like, and now those 3 words are trying to be used to be counteracted with all lives matter. I literally just had a conversation. She may be watching right now. I had a conversation with a white friend of mine. All right, and I would talk to her about. I said, "Hey, look, she's saying blue lives matter. Now listen, all right. I want to share everybody understand this. Listen, I found out is that she didn't understand. All she was saying was, okay, people are being hurt. There are police officers who are hurt that are out there that are because their families and they are scared because they're seen as being vilified. They have nothing to do with the situation, but they seem as vilified. But a black person can see it as blue lives matter. It's like that means you're encouraging this behavior. See, the thing is, I don't know who's behind it all, but I know that they are using it, and I'm gonna say a name that's gonna piss a lot of people off. Candace Owens. Okay, so Candace Owens. So only reason why Candace Owens had a little bit of my attention. Only reason because she was like saying that the Democratic Party, if you notice that the Black Lives Matter, it only rises and spikes during election years. That is true. That is true. So I mean, I truly do believe that they're using these things to push a certain agenda. Malcolm X. I'm gonna bring it back to my brother Malcolm X. Malcolm X. You go just look him up. All right, because most white people don't know about it. Malcolm X, he didn't trust white liberals. He didn't trust white liberals because like Russell said it earlier. He said you got a white man coming in sheep's clothing, acting like he's a wolf underneath. Oh, what's up, man? Check my record. Check my record. You ain't and now you acting like you cool with me, and then you have a different agenda. So yes, I think first of all, and address this. I think that we must do research on Black Lives Matter. Don't just go with it. Research, check it. You know what I'm saying? If your friends are close, if your enemies are close, you need to watch them. I don't know if they're true, and I don't know. I'm just saying, I care about it. I love what they're doing. They're helping a lot. I want to make sure that's clear. I want to make sure I'm not saying I'm against it. I don't want to make sure that I'm just saying we should research it. Okay, that's it.
So you said a Republican.
1 second, Shirley.
Yes.
I don't want to cut you off right after Shirley. We have to go on to the next question.
I'll make it quick. So you said for Act Blue, a Republican brought that up.
Correct.
So I'm sure he didn't bring up the Republican group called ALEC. So it's the American Legislative Exchange Council.
Yes.
It is made up of corporations. They're in conjunction with Republican legislators.
They write the bills.
And they draft bills. The bills that become laws that we go by. So the Stand Your Ground law that got Zimmerman off for killing Trayvon Martin was written by ALEC. And we're talking about companies like Walmart.
Yes.
So while you here talking about Act Blue, you are literally, you have a group, an organization of corporations, high-powered corporations that write the laws that they hand to their legislator, their puppet head that walk in, and those bills are drafted into law.
Wow.
The Crime Bill
That
of
is
'94 that Bill Clinton used for mass incarceration here came from ALEC. Again, so again, corporations are writing the laws that we go by. Mandatory sentencing that had all of our black kings locked up for 85% of their sentence came from ALEC. So again, to me, it's real funny that you have somebody bringing up Act Blue. The answer to the question is, to me, you have to be involved in politics in some way, shape, or form in order to get anything done.
Yeah.
So the same way that you have these Republicans that are with ALEC, you have Act Blue for the Democrats. I mean, it is what it is. Everybody does it. It just seems that up until this point, the Republicans have had the power and the oversway. The CCA was a part of that. They were counting bodies in jail. The bodies in jail is nothing more than money. That's what it is. The same thing happened with slavery. They lost their workforce when slavery was abolished. So what did? They had the convict leasing. Round them all up, use that loophole in the 13th Amendment, and now we have our workforce back. It's just that simple. It's the same thing with mass incarceration now. The bodies equal dollars. That's what it comes down to.
I just have one thing to say. People do not know that with the correctional department, it is exchanged on the stock market. They have a stock symbol, and they're trading stocks. Okay, because it is a corporation. That's right. So just so you know, it is stock that's being exchanged. You can purchase and buy stock. Okay? What? Yeah. So you see how the money's being made on the bottom.
I'm gonna take my notes just like I get.
And for those that don't know, the prisons, some correctional facilities, it depends on what state you're in, they get $160 a day.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
No, girl, it's money. It's a business.
So that sounds like the education system though too.
It's a business.
And they
Legalize marijuana.
And they pay 8 cents an hour. 8 cents an hour for 8 hours a day. $25.60 a month. You get a check for it, just for being in
It's free labor for corporations.
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret used to use, workers in jail until people found out and they stopped. But you have massive corporations who make lots of profit because they have people in jail working for next to nothing, and they pocket their cheap labor.
I got one thing to touch in on that situation. I was in Waco, Texas. I'm originally from Waco, Texas, and I know a lot of people probably heard of the Twin Peaks shooting between the two biker gangs that went
I remember
Waco.
that.
Well, interesting fact. I was at the end of my 36 weekend sentence. I got sentenced to 36 weekends for stupid marijuana charge. But my last weekend in jail is the night that they brought all those bikers in. Which it come out, all the bikers got off. The DA tried to set up a trap, bounce back on them out. But next door in Waco, Texas, you have McClellan County Highway 6 jail, and next door you have a federal jail called Jack Harwell. They transferred everybody from McClellan County to Jack Harwell, which is a federal prison, just so they can house all those bikers in county prison so they can get money. And each one of them got $1 million bail. It was a conspiracy charge, so each one of them was $1 million. But salute, they ended up getting off. April Rayner was that was the DA during the time. He did some negligent shit, whole situation. But that's all facts. They look at you as a dollar sign. As soon as you get in there, you get a number, and that number equates to a dollar sign that they getting ready to try to milk from. But that's it.
So we're gonna stay on Black Lives Matter, but we're gonna switch it up just a little bit. When we say Black Lives Matter, do any of you feel like we neglect the gay community? Because there is a lot of disguised homophobia, primarily when it comes to black men.
I don't know if people understand that you have Black Lives Matter, the movement, which we all understand. And you have Black Lives Matter, the organization.
There you go. Yes.
That organization was started by some black females, some homosexuals, and some transgenders. You can actually check in the wiki and see it, because that's why a lot of people have been turned off to Black Lives Matter, because they look at it as the organization and not the movement. I'm pretty sure a lot of us, when we standing out there, we saying Black Lives Matter, we thinking about the whole movement, the whole 360 spectrum of period, that we are a human being, we need to be respected as one. They don't look at it as the organization that's could be usurping the main message. I do understand that gays are being basically the same thing as black people. They're being tarnished. They're being tormented. They're going through a lot of situations. Same thing as transgenders. But one thing I had to understand that I want to say, we have to handle one thing at a time. Throwing too many things in the pot at one time will mess up the whole pot. I feel like when we was going for civil rights, they threw in the woman rights to try to separate us from the main message. And I don't want this same situation to happen. Yes, I do understand gays. Yes, I do understand transgenders. But goddamn it, we're humans as a black man, and that message needs to be understood and not usurped by anything. That's me.
All right. Anybody else?
I thought about this because from what I know, I may be wrong, but I thought I've seen this Pride Month. Is that?
Yes.
It is, right? So I've thought about that. That's like, man, I wonder if that community is feeling like, wow, like, are we being we're being overshadowed by the Black Lives Matter movement? I've wondered that. Do I think it's intentional? I don't believe that. I don't believe it's an intentional situation. We got to remember, this is the catalyst of this movement is from the video of George Floyd. So, and that was more of not just the video of George Floyd, it was the straw that basically broke the camel's back. Because it was like 8 minutes and 46 seconds of, oh my God.
From start to finish, we seen a man alive to dead. There's no question.
Right. So, and I pray for those, because I didn't really learn. I learned more about the gay community or the LGBTQ community. I apologize for getting it corrected. Truly not my intention. But I do understand that when there was a Kevin Hart situation that happened, and when that Kevin Hart situation happened, when he was going for the Oscars, it brought a lot that I didn't know about to my attention. And so I pray that they don't feel that way, but I do pray that they are able to have a voice. I think anybody has a voice should speak that voice. And even with this going on, I pray that they're able to speak that voice and not use Black Lives Matter as an antagonist, you know what I'm saying, as an enemy, so to speak, and just focus on speaking your message. And I promise you, I know for a fact that I haven't seen anything, I could be wrong, but I haven't seen anything that's intentionally to negate, the community. So I don't think that's, but I can understand how they could possibly feel. Yeah.
There have been some cases where you see black men beating on transgender. I think with this movement, it says it. Black Lives Matter. There's no subsection.
Let me sure I understood you right. You said during the Black Lives Matter, you've seen black men beat up on transgender.
Right.
Yes.
Black men beat black transgender.
During the movement.
Yes.
Okay. Let's make sure.
And so it's like we have to remember the movement is Black Lives Matter. It doesn't say black straight lives. It doesn't say black gay lives. It doesn't say it's everybody who's included in our community. And I think it's a problem when we're looking to white people and saying you need to treat us equally, and then we look at the subsect of our people and want to treat you subhuman. You want the police to be held accountable for what they're doing, but in our own communities we keeping child molesters in the family a secret. Like we gotta, at some point, you gotta know better. You do that.
Keep going back.
So again, I'm gonna say it. If nobody else gonna say, I will say it. That's why I'm here. Like it's Black Lives Matter. There's no subsection. If you black and your skin look like mine, you part of this fight. And to me, if you think that certain people in our community should be left out, you need to sit out this whole movement because you don't know what the hell it's about. I'm done.
Hey, I gotta ask a question on that.
No, she got it. We got 10 minutes.
Oh, we got okay. You good?
So
keep the mic.
Keep the mic rest.
Okay.
All right. So there have been a lot of unexplained hangings that have been happening around the country, right? Yeah. We know that that's something that the KKK has been known for a very long time. Now, on April 6th of 2020, the State Department announced it would designate the Russian Imperial Movement, abbreviated RIM, as terrorists. This is the first time in the United States history that they've officially applied terrorists to label a white supremacist organization. Why do you think the KKK has yet to be labeled as a terrorist?
All right. Sorry. One statement. For the same reason you will never see Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana in the same room.
Okay.
Let's go.
Come on, Russ, what you got?
Okay.
Real quick.
Okay. Dang, what happened was?
We're talking about the Klan.
Okay. Talking about the Klan. I think when we talk about systemic racism, right, and how people that used to be able to march proudly with the robe and the hat had to take it off, and they got a sheriff's badge, and they got a U.S. congressman's patch. You know what I'm saying? That's why, because you got who is paying these congressmen to be able to run for Congress? You got the Klan. You got David Duke, man. And Trump is gonna be like, I don't know who David Duke is. Everybody in their mama know who David Duke is. So that's the reason why I think it is. It's because you don't, Billy Bob over there is like, no man, you can't let them guys call us terrorists. There's more white people killing in mass murders, right? But they're not considered terrorists. Yep. But let a guy that's a second generation Muslim, he's self-made in America. He does something. Oh, now it's a terrorist action. He's an American.
Exactly.
Okay.
Come on, Cass.
I don't even have a full spill.
Okay.
Short answer was money.
Okay. Go ahead, DQ.
Oh yeah, well, as Wikipedia want to break it down, they got the Klan into 3 groups. The most from 1865 to 1871. Then they have a second Klan 1915 to 1944, and the third Klan from 1946 to present day. Like I said, I'm from Waco, Texas. I used to work at the post office before I went full-time music. The head of the Klan, the Grand Wizard, lived right outside of Waco in Lorena, Texas. I used to do this man mail. He had the Grand Wizard symbol right there on his envelope. Ain't no joke. They flaunt it. But one thing I say, there's a reason why they wear that hoodie. There's a reason why they wear that mask.
They're cowards.
They don't want to be seen in their true profession. So, I'm going to leave it at that because like Russell said, all these cops, all these judges, all of them, they're members of it. And that's all I got to say on that. And then on another note, speaking about the hangings that's going on, and everybody trying to say, all these coroners saying it's suicide and all this situation. I'm going to go in there and say this. I'm going to break this down one time. There's not one black person in this room, in my household, and my family, that know how to tie a noose. I'm gonna keep it 100. Who can tie a noose? All right. If you ask me about Anthony Daisy, if you see the Daisy, you know suicide. Ain't no suicide, man. Listen with that.
Man, you can jump off a building or jump off a bridge if you want to. That's a lot of hard work to try to do.
So, of course, right before we end, right now is a major time in history because times are changing. And in 2020, we faced COVID-19 head-on. We were quarantined for months and witnessing another unjustified murder of a black man. That led to a worldwide protest and riots of the country. Where do y'all think that we will go from here?
I think it's
the UN.
I think it's a time of. I think it's a tough time, but it's a time of awakening. It's a time of awakening, and those who was like, oh my God, 2020 is going to be my year. 2020 still is your year. It's just that in order for a lot of things to happen, that the challenges had to happen. And I think for our country, and I told this to somebody, I appreciate, I'm glad Trump was the president because he woke people up.
I was just about to say that.
Because when Obama was president,
we
to
was
me,
laid back.
now I'm gonna call it what it is. You know what I'm saying? The country was on, when they saw a black president, they're like, oh my God, we good. Everything is great. The country's not racist. If a person of color is killed, but y'all have a black president, what's the problem? To me, the country at that point, when Obama was president, it's more like the country was blank with a pretty blanket, a red, white, and blue blanket of bullshit. Then, but when Trump became president, the thing about Trump will say whatever he want to say, do whatever he want to do, and he got people riled up on both sides. And that made people, that's why people are in the streets. That's why people are doing what they're doing. It's because you got an emotion, a leader, quote unquote, that causes emotions to make people like, you know what, I'm not going to take this. It's hot boiling water. And it's, I'm going to make this thing, and I know we got to go. It's like the frog. The frog that's on the pot, boil it slow. That's how it was when Obama was president. You know what I'm saying? So nobody wanted to jump out. Everybody was cool with it. They just let it simmer. But when Trump became president, hot. People jumping out. Jumping out. It's time to fight. And everybody's waking up. So that's what's going on.
Real quick. The protests are great, but we have to understand that the idiot that's in office wants to stay in office. And the longer we protest and the longer we do the stuff that we're doing, if it's not positive, the martial law, anything that he does to stop the country from running also negates the voters' rights. So if martial law and war will negate the election date, and the election date cannot be rescheduled. He will get another election for free and still get to run again as a second term. So if we continue to do what we're doing now, as far as rioting and tearing up stuff, he invokes the martial law, then he wins. So we can't let him win. Be peaceful about what you're doing. Men, we need to be out here protecting these women and children that's doing this, and be a part of it on a positive note.
Yeah, I just say unite Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-American, and African, unite Pan-African, all Africans for Africa, and you create an economic bloc that would be bigger than Europe and Asia and America, and then ain't nobody gonna say nothing because you got the power. Unite and come together.
All right. To give y'all for 1 and 2, I never really introduced myself. I'm Lamontra Edwards. I work at Urban Specialists, the organization that stops senseless violence in urban communities, where we believe that you are the answer, you are the solution. So check us out at ogumovement.org or go to urbanspecialists.org, and we'll connect you to opportunities to grow you. But let's get it. Heavenly Father, move me in my words. We see pain, we see tears, we see smiles, and we see fears. We see laughs, we see frowns. As my grandmother would say, baby, everything looks upside down. They are in shock, we are traumatic, but repetitively we've marched and marched and marched and been told that we don't matter. There is a, hold on, y'all making me nervous. Okay. And we've been told that we don't matter. First it was Kobe, now it is COVID. It seems like the life we live has went from the American dream to the American scene. Tune in, but wait, watch, I can't breathe. It took 74 days just to be seen. It looked like Trayvon Martin only wanted a Arizona tea. Sandra Bland, who could she be? Just a black queen who refused to get on her knees. 72 hours later, and she was saying, I can't breathe. Suicide is what they called it, but it's just a shame to see. But how could this be? The American dream where melanated kings and queens are still asking to be free? 10-year-old kids saying, how could this be me? Mothers are trying, but our fathers keep dying. What is the solution? Mike Brown said, hands up, don't shoot, please. But may I ask a question? Why is it that we need permission to save humanity, where we believe that liberty is where we believe that liberty to achieve our destiny? I am Lamontra Edwards, committing my time to saving our nest. Leaders, are you here with me? It is the time to learn our rights, don't you see? It is time to become financially free, don't you see? It is time to walk in our destiny. We no longer blame them or him or her, because I am calling for you and me to stand in this American dream where the darker the berry, the deeper the roots. I am Lamontra Edwards, dedicating my time to unveiling my truth. I am Lamontra. Oh, let me pray. Get me right. Okay, let me close this out. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you so much for all that you do, all that you've continued to do. Thank you so much for allowing our panelists and our speakers and our hosts to give us the direction in which you have already set for us. I pray that we go home not as sleeping individuals, but awakening our inner beast to know that when we are walking on the streets of this earth, that we do have purpose, that we do belong to you, and that we are in the kingdom of you, and that no man has any right to tell us who and what our value is. We give our hearts to you, Heavenly Father. We allow our crowns to sit on our heads, even when the enemy is trying to tell us that it is leaning. We pray that we don't allow his words to be strong enough that we cannot unite as one. We thank you for all things through you. In Jesus' name that I pray, amen.
Amen. So you guys, of course we got to close out the night. You know, it's the end of the night. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful.
Thank you.
The Lipstick Den just want to take the time and thank everyone for joining us tonight. This was our first event, and it's precious to us. It was a pleasure seeing every one of you show up. It meant a whole lot to us to know that not just we have value, but you guys do too. And I'm sure the people that you are connected to as well. We also want to thank our audience for coming out and just making sure that you guys supported us. This meant a lot. And tonight is all about making sure our voices was heard. And even though we do not have a permanent solution for this very issue, this is the start of it. Thank you again. You guys have a good night. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here.